Welcome into one of our final OUA season previews of the year. This one is the Waterloo Warriors and Coach Chris Bertoia. Coach, thank you for joining us in the evening. I mean, you guys are practicing late now, getting ready for week one. It's just a few days away. What's kind of the feeling around the Waterloo Warriors locker room as we head into week one?
Well, it's excitement, optimism. I think that's the way it should be. I joked with you guys before we got on air here. Everyone's undefeated right now, so you better be optimistic. I know we've put a lot of hard work in this offseason, as I'm sure 10 other OUA schools have as well. But, um, you know, we, uh, we got a good group of guys returning, a solid nucleus, and we got some really good young kids here, and a pretty young team overall. And so there's that young young enthusiasm. And there's also just kind of that a group of guys that you got a fairly young team last year that made the playoffs, but then in the playoffs subsequently got our asses kicked. Sorry, excuse my French, but it is what it is, and we use that as fuel to our fire this offseason. And it was nice to get to that point so that they get that feeling, they know what it's like, and now it's set higher goals, and let's get things rolling. I mean, it's football, and it's an intense 3.5, 4 months, and who isn't excited about it? So right now it's buzzing around here, that's for sure.
And as you guys head in, a lot of similar names on the offensive side of the ball with Basiliga and Caban and Orr. What are you kind of expecting from the skill players on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, obviously, we Evan Basiliga's back, our H back. James is
Hmm.
gone now, right? So he
Yeah.
was a key cog, obviously. Justin Sukar's gone. So those were our two key receiving guys last year. So, when guys depart, I mean, it's the cycle of university ball, and there's guys waiting in the wings, and we got some really good young talent. And, I think overall our receiving corps is a very talented group. We've got some guys that can stretch the field, and we got some other guys that do a lot of good things well. So replacing James at the Y is going to be Tyler Tierney. So he's a guy from London going into his third year. The X is going to be Marcus Hogel, who had kind of a coming out game against U of T in our final regular season game last year. And then on the first play of the Laurier playoff game, he was on kick return, and he kind of, he didn't blow his knee out, but he had a knee injury that kind of set him back for 3 or 4 months into the offseason. He's looked really good. And, there's some young guys that can touch the fence, and that's what I mean. Touch the fence, I mean they got some speed, and they just it's inexperience, but I mean the only way you get experience is by running routes and catching the football and maybe taking a few licks, and so um, we are definitely optimistic about our receiving core. I think it's a very talented group. Going into our game, Nick Orr is our starting quarterback. He finished the job there last year, and I think we're in a good situation in our quarterback room with Nick taking the reins, also stepping into more of a leadership role this offseason. And just getting, obviously getting those games under his belt last year were really, really important, building confidence, but also, he worked really, really hard in the offseason with his film study, but also throwing mechanics, so on and so forth. So Nick's the starter. And then I think we're in a really good situation with Nolan Caban, a guy that's started, 10 plus games in the OUA. Had some success, obviously, threw a few too many interceptions. We don't dwell on the past. We fix it and move forward in the future. But having a very capable backup is reassuring as a coach too, right? When you got a guy, it's not some guy that hasn't had any experience whatsoever in the OUA. We've got a guy that's backing up that's started 10 games. I think that puts our quarterback in a room in a good position to lead this team. And we're still going to be an offense that likes to run the football. I think everybody knows that. And we're going to, our offensive line, we returned, 4/5 of our starting unit, and I think we had a pretty good unit last year. And so they're a year older, and getting Ethan Culver back from the Bombers was a key addition there as well. So, yeah, I mean, offensively, pretty excited about that group to take that next step. There was some really good things that they did last year. There's some inconsistencies, and I think obviously that offseason in the weight room, but also just that offseason together, gelling as a unit, whether it be in the winter, spring practices, and then throughout training camp here, things have looked pretty good.
You mentioned the ability to have both quarterbacks that have game experience and have kind of gone through the last couple years together. What can you kind of say about their relationship between Caban and Orr and how that kind of props them up in the week to week prep and planning and the roller coaster that could be a season?
You know what? That for a room, a quarterback room is always an interesting and intriguing room, right? It's a singular position. Quarterback's arguably the toughest position to play in all of sports, and ultimately is the CEO of the football program and team. When we're out on the field, like you have a good quarterback, you generally have a pretty good opportunity, and a pretty good team, regardless of level of play that you're playing at. And those two are very competitive. But you know what? They're really, really tight friends and they push each other and they empower each other and they want to see each other succeed. And I think Nolan settled well into the backup position. I don't think he's sad. You show me someone that wants to be a backup, and I'm going to show you someone that, doesn't want to be successful. But at the same time, trusting the coaches in our decision process, but also putting the team ahead of your own personal goals is something that we stress as a football program, and so Nolan certainly epitomized that. He's part of our captain's council, so we have 10 guys on our team. We don't have a set of cat. We kind of try to break up years, so we got some guys in second year, guys in third year, fourth year, fifth year, guys from every position. But both Nick Orr and Nolan Caban are a part of that captain's council, and I think that just shows you, what kind of guys they are from a character standpoint, understanding that the quarterback, needs to be a leader, and yeah, they're two, I can't say enough about their relationship. Truly, it's certainly evolved. They push each other and they make each other better, but they ultimately understand that as a quarterback, the goal is to make everybody else around you better, and they both embrace that. So it is honestly it's an exciting thing to have. It for me it's comforting. I don't know if that's a word a football coach generally uses, but it's just something you have in the back pocket that we got a pretty good situation there. Certainly, we want to evolve at that position. We certainly want to have a breakout year at that position. You know, it's we don't the guy's been gone for 3 years, but to follow Trey Ford is kind of the standard's been set pretty high here at Waterloo, right? And we know that nobody's probably going to replicate what Trey did, but we're going to certainly strive for it, and I think it's a big year for those two men, and certainly starting Sunday for Nick being our starting quarterback.
And okay, let's talk about the guy right behind them because Anthony Miller is a freak and he had one heck of a year last year for you guys. How does he kind of build off of that success last year? And we all know that your roots are run the ball and you're going to be determined to do so, but having a back like that is kind of an added luxury, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. He's got himself in really, really good shape. He's never been in better shape. He's never trained harder. I mean, that was always something that we really push is not to throw him on him, but he can't comes by it naturally. And this year I think getting an opportunity at East West Bowl, some of those things have really motivated him and whatever it takes to motivate people. But he's been all in and he's worked his tail off and he looks faster than he ever has, but he still has that downhill physicality. And he showed that a little bit in the York integrated practice. He ran the ball well. We got a two-headed monster there too because we got young Quentin Springer who
Hmm.
he put on 12 pounds. He's almost 200 pounds now, and he looks great too. So we're in pretty good shape, and the running back room overall is pretty good. We got a kid named Roy Vanderveen who he was a freshman last year. He cracked dress roster as a true freshman as well as Quentin. And in the first play of our first game against Ottawa on punt, someone got thrown into his leg when he was engaged and he broke his leg. So he's a big horse too, and so we got a really good room there. So we're excited about that, but certainly Anthony's going to be he's kind of our starting running back, and certainly Quentin's Q is going to get some he's going to get some opportunities each and every game. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know the days of a running back carrying the ball 35 times is kind of a past. I think Anth will be the guy that kind of gets the, if we have 35 carries in a game, Anthony's kind of the, 20 carry guy, and Q's maybe the 15 carry guy. So, and they both bring something different to the table. I think Q has that home run explosive speed that hopefully we can bust a few 60 or 70-yard touchdown runs. And that Anthony's just going to turn those chains, but he's also now, his speed this camp. I've never seen him like this. So my hope is that on some of those runs where, he only was able to get 25, 30 yards, now he's able to bust those for 50-yard touchdowns. So because he's a workhorse between the tackles, that's for sure.
All right, we have talked at length about the offensive unit, rightfully so, because it is such an exciting unit. But I do want to flip sides of the ball here, talk about the guys on defense, because we know you can get after it. So, who are some of the guys that have kind of developed into these leadership roles that we were talking about on offense for you guys, but now on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line, unfortunately, we've lost a few guys. Obviously, Tyson Hergod being the main one. But Trevon Halstead decided to hang him up. His body was banged up, so we were hoping that Trayvon was coming back, but he had to do what he had to do, and you got to take care of your body. So he's not no longer. But we've got a couple young guys that have been sitting in the wings that we're excited about, and Divine Ugo and Marcus Miller, Anthony's twin brother, and then playing ends, and then interior wise, we got a kid from Brockville, Marcus Ola, who's kind of been sitting in the wings a bit, and I'm excited for him to have a breakout year as well. And we returned Justin Geck for his fifth and final year, who's an undersized nose, but he's a dog, and we're excited about seeing these guys evolve and take control and seize their opportunity that they're about to have. From our linebacking core, I'd say is the strength of our defense. We've kind of made some movements with that core itself. We moved James Hinsberger from the Sam linebacker spot to, he's going to be playing middle linebacker, and we moved Keyshawn Bowen to the Will linebacker spot, and then Arden Martinez, who was a freshman last year from A.N. Meyer, the Ford Boys School. Arden's a guy that people should be keeping an eye on. We're excited about him. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, and probably runs a 4.65, and he's athletic and a striker, and so that's kind of going to be our starting unit. We got Jethro Aleko, who's been a starter for years, backing up. And we got a few other good young guys. Michael Machini, who was another freshman from last year that's moved in, and he's 6'3", 250, and can too. We might have to put him at the end. I keep telling Coach K-Mac that, but we'll see how the season goes. But that linebacking core, we got 6 or 7 really good players there, and they've really taken the bull by the horn from a leadership standpoint. James Hinsberger in specific, and tireless worker, and certainly become more vocal. He's never been a huge vocal guy, but this year he's kind of stepped out of that comfort zone and being a quiet leader to being a more verbal leader, and so excited about that. And then in the secondary, we got Anisu Latmore back, number 1. He had a good year last year, and he did well at the East West Bowl, and he's come back ready to rock and roll. And Isaiah Blackson got a year under his belt last year, and Mason Henry. We recruited a lot of DBs. We recruited some size at DB. There will be probably some freshman DB that are going to be getting some action. Maybe not as much week 1, but as they get the playbook under wraps and stuff from Coach K-Mac, there's some guys that have been doing really well in that secondary, and so yeah, there's some pieces back there. Diego Arenas, who was our free safety. He graduated and actually transferred to Laval. He's at Laval doing a master's program. So that's a big loss. Diego was pretty good back there at that free safety spot, but it's time for someone young to step up, and potentially could be a freshman in there too. So yeah, overall, really excited about the defense. Just it's kind of like one of those things. Coach DA was here for a long time and did a lot of great things, and he moved on to his opportunity, and we were able to replace him with an outstanding coach and Kevin McNeil, and an outstanding DC, and having Coach K-Mac here, since January helped with the spring practice and the winter training and getting the basics of our core playbook in, and then I think the trust factors there, and the guys, like anything, it's guys, miss people, but at the same time change is sometimes good, and I think defensively, um there's some things that are going to be changed back there, and in specific, hopefully keeping it simple and letting these guys fly around. And that's the feedback we're getting from them right now, is that, they're flying to the ball. 12 is one, and it's about pursuit. And, overall, our whole team, guys, it's something we talked about. There's no superstar on this team that can just put the team on their shoulders. We have to build trust, and we have to come together as a team, and only 12 guys get to get on that field, whether it's special teams, defense, or offense. And we got to be 12 as one, and playing as a full unit. And that comes with trusting each other and playing for each other. And that's something that we're only 10, 12 days in, or 10, 11 days into camp, 12 days into camp, but I've really seen a great evolution there. And certainly, there's been some coaching change, right? So our special teams coordinator is Jerome Erdman, who was with us last year as the DBs coach, but he's doing the specials and DBs. Jerome's, CFL special teams coordinator for 8 years. And there's some things happening there that certainly, it's a breath of fresh air and organization, and understanding what we need to accomplish in special teams wise. So there's been some changeover on our staff. Coach DA took a few of our coaches with him, which is fine. Greater opportunity, maybe a little more money, but that creates an opportunity for some new blood here, which I think new blood always gives guys some new energy, and so yeah, overall we're cautiously optimistic about our season, and certainly excited about the defense flying around, and excited about the pieces that we have on that side of the ball, and the leadership that some of those players have certainly taken, not just with the defensive unit, but with the overall team, which is an important piece. So, our offense and defense are competing their butts off against each other in practice. But I've really, I'm excited about this year because of the way our team is coming together, and understanding that, we all wear the black and gold, even though we cross the white lines and practice can get heated a bit. They've really learned to separate that, where in years past, sometimes we've had difficulties with that. So yeah, really excited.
I want to kind of talk about the East-West Bowl, and not only that, but you guys also were able to host the OSFL Summer Championships this year. Kind of talk about the chance for the university to get those events and kind of showcase your facilities to incoming recruits, and kind of the impact that has on you guys as you team build.
Yeah, yeah. Like obviously, bringing Coach K-Mac on board, and then Coach Brendan Conway, he's done a great job with the offense and recruiting too. And, it's just kind of like sometimes people look at us with squirrely eyes, like, oh my God, how many things are you going to host? We hosted the Red Black Weekend top 90 guys. Then we went right into the East-West Bowl. Then we got the OSFL. But I think it's such a great opportunity to showcase our university, the facilities that we've built, the support that we have. And certainly it goes a long way to getting our feet in the door with some blue chip level guys. And I think this recruiting class for 2025 is shaping up good. Obviously, we're all in the mix right now, but some of the people that came in for unofficial visits, and in May and June this year, we're a higher level caliber kid compared to a few of the years past, to be honest. And I think it's kind of, hey, they came here and they saw and they said, wow, like this is pretty intriguing, and versus us kind of selling it to them in a conversation in Burlington, and they haven't seen it. You know what I mean? So, and our goal is to hopefully host the East-West Bowl again next year, and do it for 2 years and then pass it on. And that helps with just showcasing our facility and having the CFL Combine here. All of those things are notches in our belt to be able to say to, prospective recruits, like, hey, we have outstanding facilities, and here's the reason why, and these are facts, right? And there's no reason that we wouldn't be able to host all these events if we didn't have the facilities to do so. And I think player development's a huge piece. So that field house is a huge key as well. I mean, even in our integrated practice with York, right? It was Saturday and that weather came. There was a tornado in air, and we were about 10 minutes into 10 minutes left in Skelly, and Coach Janky and me are in the middle of the field. It's thundering, and we're like, oh, we're pushing it here. And I said, well, if we can just get through Skelly, then we can get inside and get to team, and we were able to get through Skelly, and then we had all our team periods inside. And even when we came through the garage door with both clubs, with York and us kind of jogging in, you hear it even from the York guys going like, wow, holy smokes, like they got this. This is crazy. We didn't lose man hours. So you think about with minus 10 and 10 centimeters of snow on the ground, like we're able to develop our guys. And that's kind of why, I say I'm cautiously optimistic about our team, because we're some of the guys that we've lost. Certainly we're not going to be at the level of the Tyson Hergots or the Trevon Halsteads, but guys get opportunity to get to that point. But I think what we think closes the gap is the fact that we've been able to work throughout the winter, and because of these facilities, it gives us an advantage to develop some younger players at a expedited rate. And so and it's part of the pitch when we're recruiting too. So it's great to host all these events, and hopefully we're throwing it out there again, and hopefully we get the opportunity to host the Red Black again and East West again. And the OSFL championship will probably be somewhere else, but certainly was a good showcase for our school, and it's a lot of hard work, but I think it's a good ROI for us, and so we'll keep putting in that work, and keep hopefully hosting those events so that we can keep showcasing our university, and it makes it the recruiting process is still difficult because Ontario is a tough place to recruit in when you got 11 quality schools playing football in the OUA, but it certainly gets our foot in the door, and so we want to continue to do that.
Well, I think that's plenty from Connor and I. I mean, obviously you guys have a loaded offense coming back, and like you said, 4/5 of the O-line is always a good place to start. So we know that your philosophy will be in full effect this weekend when you guys take on Toronto. But of course, the best of luck to you guys all season long, and thank you again for joining us, Coach.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate you guys always doing the preview and the support that you give to the OUA and U Sports football and Canadian football players. So keep doing what you guys do, and we certainly reciprocate our appreciation to you guys as well, and hope to see you guys down the road, okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate your time as always, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.